The acronym for chapter 4 is years, where E stands for eternal knowledge. Verses 1 to 12. A stands for accurate understanding. Sorry, 1 to 10. Huh?
1 to 10.
Yeah, 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Accurate understanding, that is 11 to 15. Correct? R is for reactions. 16 to 24. And then there's sacrifices. 25 to 32, is that right or more? 46.
25 to 42.
42.
45 to 42.
2 I would deny.
25 to 46.
46, na?
You missed your Shilpa yesterday. Yesterday I had to purple.
Oh.
I said, well, people class got delayed.
Chapter 4. Yeah, it's 42 actually.
42, no?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just checked how many,
It's 42.
how many words. Maybe I must have written 46 last time.
No, but I have 42. That's last time what did you
Right, 42.
42, yeah. I just checked the number of verses in chapter 4. It's 42.
Okay. End it.
28 you have to start from
To start from 28. Remember the whole chart that I had drawn?
Yeah.
I think we finished up to the Patanjali Yogi. Or Swadhyaya Yoga.
Svadhyaya Yoga.
Swadhyaya
Nine.
Yoga.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Shilpa, you got the teachers now?
Oh, I just ate one.
Okay. We'll start with our prayers. Introduction, page number 1. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Quick recap of the chapter. 1 to 10 is eternal knowledge, where Krishna describes the history of Bhagavad Gita, right? And then he speaks about it, how it was spoken to Sun God and it was passed down in a disciplic succession. And then finally that same science was lost. So then Arjun was the instrument how Krishna could get back the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? And he describes his appearance, the nature of his body, which is transcendental. His body is not ordinary. His activities, his appearance is not ordinary. And Krishna promises in 4.9, by almost the end of this section, he says that those who simply know my activities, my appearance, the nature of my body and all these things, this transcendental knowledge, if he knows, he does not need to take birth again in this material world. He comes back to my supreme abode. And then between 11 to 15, he gave the accurate understanding, how to understand this transcendental knowledge. He said that just how Sun God and Vivaswan and other senior devotees have understood this knowledge and followed and done their duties according to this transcendental knowledge, that is how Arjun, and that is how he wants all of us to follow this transcendental knowledge and not take tyag, but follow according to how the previous acharyas, the previous devotees have done. That's the accurate understanding of transcendental knowledge. Then we came to the point of reactions. That's what we finished last class. Between 16 to 24, what did Krishna describe? Do I have it here? From 16 onwards, Krishna described what is karma, vikarma, and what is akarma. Karma is any punya that you do. Vikarma is the pap or the sins that we do, and akarma is neutral activities or spiritual activities or everything that is connected to Krishna. That means whatever karma that you're doing, avoiding vikarma, you do it for Krishna's pleasure, for his satisfaction, and that's when it becomes akarma. It does not give you any material reactions. That is what he was describing. And then how to behave in a way without the sense of proprietorship. That means without material attachment. You use everything for the service of Krishna, and you yourself don't use it for your own sense gratification, because that is what gives us material reactions or sinful reactions. When we avoid that part and we use everything for the sake of Krishna, when we grow up our children for the sake of Krishna's pleasure, when we serve our husbands for the sake of Krishna's pleasure, when we serve in the house, we cook, we clean or whatever, managing the household that we do, managing the servants, when we do it for Krishna's pleasure, that is akarma, that is Krishna consciousness, right? Then he said that even a lot of people think, that just by renouncing all activities I'll be free from reactions. Is that possible? Just by renouncing all types of activities, household or jobs or whatever you call it, if you renounce, will you be free from activity or from reactions? No. Because even a renunciant, even a sannyasi has to eat something, he has to breathe, he has to walk, he has to talk, he has to take a bath, he has to sleep. All these things give us reactions. Even if we are eating vegetarian food, is it not going to give us any reactions?
It will give.
It will give. Compared to non-vegetarian food, it's going to be less. But it is definitely there. So is it possible to avoid all reactions without or avoid activities? It's not possible. What is possible is that dovetailing all my activities for the pleasure of Krishna rather than my own sense gratification. That is what Krishna is describing in this verses 16 to 24, to give up the sense of proprietorship. Right? And then around the 20th verse, he gives, that how a normal person also, they look as if they are normal kings, they look as if they are normal people, but actually they are very close to Krishna. Why? Internally, they've connected everything that they have with Krishna. Yeah? And then 21 and 22, I had 9 points that are symptoms of the person who is behaving in a karma. That is, he acts with the level of mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, and he acts for very bare necessities of life. He is not affected by his sinful reactions, whatever residual he has, and steady in both success and failure, does not envy, there's no duality in that person, is never entangled. All these points, there are 21 to 22, there are 9 points. And then 23, Krishna introduces the concept of yajna. This introduces that how, whatever you offer to Krishna, even that becomes spiritual by nature. That's not material anymore. If I'm offering something like, say, fruits, now in getting those fruits, there's so much karma involved. I'm going to cut the fruit, this, that. A lot of karma involved in that. When I offer it to Krishna, what happens?
Becomes
That whole activity. Do you know, even the tree will be blessed. Even the farmer who grew that tree will be blessed. Even the person who transported that fruit will be blessed. Even the person who marketed, the retailer, the wholesaler, whoever, all of them are blessed. Sounds very, like a fairy tale, but it's actually true. That chain reaction you can actually bring about. That's why we human beings, that is our responsibility, that we engage everyone in Krishna consciousness, whether they want to or not, whether they like it or not, whether they know or not. Yeah? So then when that offering, that whole activity, that whole chain becomes spiritual, becomes pure, becomes a service to Krishna. Okay? Because the end result, the end product was offered to Krishna. Right? So here Krishna describes that, and then he gives 23, he introduces the concept of yajna, and then from 24 onwards, can I read only the translations? Then we'll have the, there are Bhagavad Gitas here. Page number 4.24. You have a small book or a big book? Small book.
267.
267. You got it, Dipti?
Yeah.
25th. 25th verse, the translation I'm reading. Some yogis perfectly worship demigods by offering different sacrifices to them. Did you get it? The 25th verse. And some of them offer sacrifices in fire of Supreme Brahman. So the first point was of devotees who offer everything in the fire of Krishna's pleasure. Is that table there in front of you? Sunita and Dipti, you can copy it later. They have it with them. I had made a chart for this entire section 25 to 42. Yeah? And the first thing is the devotees. They offer everything in the fire of Krishna's pleasure. Number 2, the yogis, the materialists. What do they offer? Material things in pleasure of demigods, to get results from demigods. And then some of them offer sacrifice in the fire of Supreme Brahman. What do they offer? Their own identity. Correct? Yeah, their own identity they offer in the fire of Supreme Brahman. 26th verse, I am reading, the unadulterated brahmacharis. Did you find it? You remember we did this? The unadulterated brahmacharis sacrifice the hearing process and senses in the fire of mental control. Perfect. Zarna, you got it?
What is the fire of mental control?
They want to control their mind. Yeah, so for that they hear. Whatever shastras are there, they hear. And they control their senses. Just for the end product of mental control. To get mental control, the brahmacharis do these two things. These two sacrifices they have to perform. For us, sacrifices matlab big fire hai, yajna hai, and we putting some chawal and fruits and ghee and the chandan ka lakdi or whatever, all these things. But actually, everything if you see is a sacrifice here. Right? Your endeavor for your children is a sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna. And then if you see, it's internal then. It's all the question of your consciousness. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice objects of senses in the fire of senses. Yeah. So for sense control, what do? They get married to only one partner. Keeping one partner, that itself is a sacrifice. Correct? And then 27, also actually Grihasthas sometimes have deities at home. So even everything is, you have a puja home in the house, your time, your effort, everything. Sometimes bhoga is also offered. So all that is a sacrifice for pleasure of Krishna. 27th, can we read that? Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of mind and senses offer functions of all senses and of life breath as oblations into fire of controlled mind. Did I put Patanjali Yoga in the... Yeah? And before that, I think we had 28th, we had... Impersonalist was offering to Supreme Brahman. And Patanjali Yoga offers functions of all senses and of the life breath for mind control. Perfect. And then 28th, I remember putting it up on the Dravamaya Yogi and one more yogi, Ashtang Yogi. These two are there in 28. Yeah, they are there in 28. Having accepted strict vows, Some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions. That is a dravyamay yogi. He gives in charity. He opens hospitals. He sponsors like a school or sponsors orphanages. All these things are dravyamay yogi. What is the result that they get? Heavenly planets or a birth in a very rich household. Correct? Others by performing severe austerities. Severe austerities some people do following Chaturmas. Sometimes some people eat only once in a day in the entire 4 months. Not easy. Sometimes people give up low types of food. They eat only sattvic food. Some people go completely on a fruit and fruit and milk diet. Yeah, people do these austerities for these 4 months. What happens? They get a heavenly residence in heavenly planets. Then by practicing, now this severe austerities people are called the Swadhyay yogis, Ashtang yogis. What do? Eightfold mysticism. That is studying the Vedas. Eightfold mysticism are the Ashtang yogis. Yeah, they perform severe austerities. Again, that is for mystical power. Is that there in the table?
Yeah.
Shani, a very nice table. Yeah? Very neat, no?
Is it?
Here I can see.
Yeah.
You can easily see. You can easily see what she's written. And the last is Gyan Yogis. I didn't write Gyan, I think. Study of Vedas, I've written Swadhyay. Swadhyay or Gyanis. So another name for Swadhyay is Gyanis. Is that okay? 28?
Yeah.
I think last time I didn't have time to bifurcate each one. There are 4 yogis in this particular thing. One is performing strict vows. One is gets enlightened by sacrificing the possessions. And the third one is the eightfold mystic. Severe austerities and strict vows. Eightfold mystic yoga, that's Ashtanga yogi. The last person is a Jnani. He's studying the Vedas, different Upanishads. Very tough, you can't understand, Vedanta Sutra is like mind-boggling. Really rack your brains.
So what does he get? He gets knowledge and jnana.
Knowledge. He's simply doing it for knowledge.
But then would he be getting the divine knowledge or just knowledge?
That depends on his motivation. If he wants, Krishna will give it from within. If he simply wants knowledge for the sake of knowledge,
Then it's just knowledge.
It's just knowledge. 29. I think we've read verses from 25 to 42, so we won't do it again. 29, please repeat. Apane juvati pranam.
Apane juvati pranam.
Prane panam tatha pare.
Prane panam tatha pare.
Pranapanagati rudhva.
Pranapanagati rudhva.
Pranayama parayanaha.
Pranayama parayanaha.
Apare niyataharaha.
Apare niyataharaha.
Pranan praneshu juvati.
Pranan praneshu juvati.
Sunita, you can start reading. Let's start from behind this.
Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restrain to remain in trance. Practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice.
Correct. So here there is a pranayam yogi. Person who practices pranayam. It's a drilling exercise, drilling of the breathing. Correct? Still others who are inclined to process of breath restraint remain in trance. Practice by offering the movement of outgoing breath into incoming breath into outgoing, and they remain in trance. It's like a samadhi level. Correct? Stopping all breathing. And then there's another type of people who curtail the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. Correct? Now here, can I make that thing again? Which point is it? Is it the 11th one?
10. I think 10.
10th one?
10. We stopped at 9 last time.
Okay. So who is it? A pranayam yogi. What is his ingredient for sacrifice? Incoming and outgoing breath.
Labhanga, should we continue writing this like
Yeah.
the previous
You can maybe leave like a page, an entire
Just
page.
one page?
Just one
Yeah,
page.
one page.
One page is enough?
I've spoken a lot, but actually I've written very less.
Okay.
So you just leave one page,
So we'll
and
start
then
from
you
number
can
10.
10th one you can. All the details about this kind of Hatha Yoga is mentioned in the purport. Can we just kind of little bit go through it? This system of yoga, reading the purport, the system of yoga for controlling the breathing process is called pranayam. And in the beginning it is practiced in the Hatha Yoga system through different sitting postures. Once your sitting postures are perfect, then you can really drill your breathing system. Till that time you have to really practice. All of these processes are recommended for controlling the senses and for advancement in spiritual realization. So our fire is either trance, it's actually for self-realization. To get out of this, bodily concept.
Not possible self-realization.
Not possible.
Like this.
It's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
It's not impossible.
Nothing's impossible.
This was there in Satyug.
Yeah, but it's very
This option was there in Satyug. Satyug people had, a very long lifespan.
Yeah, so they could do this.
So they could sit and practice, they had their patience also.
Yeah, correct. In today's time, I'm saying.
Now it's impossible. All of these processes are recommended for controlling senses and advancement in spiritual realization. This practice involves controlling the airs within the body so as to reverse the directions of their passage. That's why, incoming breath into outgoing and outgoing breath into incoming. The apana air goes downward, prana air goes up. The pranayam yogi practices breathing the opposite way until the currents are neutralized into puraka or equilibrium. Means there's no difference between. They've become very, I don't know what to use. Equilibrium, you understand what's equilibrium?
Yeah.
Offering the exhaled breath into inhaled breath is called rechaka. When both air currents are completely stopped, one is said to be in kumbhaka yoga. That means you're no more a hatha yogi. Hatha yogi, when he passes, or his promotion is into kumbhaka yogi. Correct? By practice of kumbhaka yoga, one can increase the duration of life for perfection in spiritual realization. That means your quality of your life becomes so good, your body becomes so strong that you can actually get a longer lifespan. The intelligent yogi is interested in attaining perfection in one life without waiting for the next. For by practicing kumbhaka yoga, the yogis increase duration of life by many, many years. There are yogis, actually they visit even Vrindavan, even if you go to Badrinath, there are yogis who stay in this Himalayan caves. It's so cold, but when you look at them, you feel so, I got an inferiority complex. I had so many, these shawls, and I had all the bags, all the sweaters in my bag were on me. And they were wearing just like one kopin or just like one cloth around them, and that's it. They used to move as if they're not on the level of the body. There's one more species who does that,
Buddhists.
No, models.
Even the Buddhist monks who live up in the
Yeah.
they are very just one.
It's very difficult, because you're not on the level of the body anymore.
In Kedarnath, the Pandits are doing hookah and all that.
Yeah, then they're not in this then. They're not in this.
Category.
They're a different. They're not even mentioned here. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always situated in transcendenting loving service of the Lord, automatically becomes the controller of the senses. That's the point Prabhupada is making here. These people are going through so much trouble, but what happens when you learn offering everything to Krishna? your attachment is to Krishna, then you are automatically behaving on the level of the soul. Just by giving trouble to the body, we don't have to realize that we are the souls, not this body. Simply by serving Krishna, we are automatically on that platform. Correct? So, automatically becomes control of the senses. His senses, being always engaged in service of Krishna, have no chance of becoming otherwise engaged. That's a practice. That's the ideal goal. So at the end of life, he is naturally transferred to the transcendental plane of Lord Krishna. Consequently, he makes no attempt to increase his longevity. He is at once raised to the platform of liberation. In 14th chapter, Krishna mentions this. He says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in unalloyed devotional service to Lord transcends the modes of material nature and is immediately elevated to the spiritual platform. That means to a devotee, this level is like the minimum. This level of Brahman, or this level of realizing that I am not this body but the soul, is the bare minimum. It's so sad, no? These people are working so hard for it. Yeah. Correct. So a Krishna conscious person begins from a transcendental stage. So out of all these yogis from 1 to 10, number 1, that devotee offers everything to Krishna, and these people are giving something. Some little bit. That whole table is in front of you. I put it in front of you so that you can compare. The goal, if you see, and the goal that a Krishna conscious devotee gets involves all these different goals. Automatically covers everything. Correct? So can we go to the 30th? So one section is this, from where he describes the different types of sacrifices, from 25 to 29. We gave that 10 points. Now from 30th onwards is a different section. What he does in that section, I'll let you know now. Yeah. Now Krishna begins to sum up the purpose of all these sacrifices in this verse, in the 30th verse. Correct? And what the sacrifices are meant for: control of senses and freeing oneself from sinful reactions. That is the purpose. I'll just write it down, then we'll do the verse. So it will become more clear. In 4.30, my phone on silent. Twofold purpose of sacrifices. Means the sole objective. What is the sole objective of all these 10 types of sacrifices that Krishna has mentioned? Number 1 is freedom from sinful reactions. Number 2 is control of senses. Controlling the senses. This, because the senses are not controlled, we are getting sinful reactions. So we need to get rid of both. The root cause and then the cause. Is that clear? Confusing? He mentions all the types, 10 types of sacrifices, and then he says, what is the purpose of that sacrifice? These two. So if you've done a sacrifice and this is not the result,
It's no point.
yeah, there's no point. So you know many people who give charity. We know so many people who do austerity. They do yoga, they do this, do that. Is this the result?
No. The result should be both the things, not only one. Yeah.
Should be both. Because this will automatically bring this. Sense control, then you will stop, acting sinfully. .30, please repeat. You're still writing? I'll wait. I'll read. 30. सर्वपीते यज्ञविदो
सर्वपीते यज्ञविदो
यज्ञशपितकल्मषाः
यज्ञशपितकल्मषाः
यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो
यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो
यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्
यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्.
Translation was done with Bhairavi.
All these components beyond the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions. And having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere.
Correct. So number one, the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions. That's the first byproduct or outcome of sacrifices. And having tasted the nectar of results of sacrifices, what happens? They advance towards the supreme atmosphere. That means the spiritual abode. When you're free from these two things, then it's very easy to concentrate on spiritual life. Correct? On the Gita. Okay. 31. It's a very small shloka. Nayam loko stayagnyasya
नायं लोकोऽस्त्ययज्ञस्य
कूटोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तमा.
कूटोऽन्यः कुरु सत्तमा.
Mohini Mataji, you can read.
O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next?
Correct. He's saying that if you don't sacrifice, there's absolutely no option. Because you will not be happy, not in this life, not in the next. Correct? So here, why is Krishna mentioning this? Why is he saying that sacrifices are very important? In the purport, the third line, I'm reading the third line. Third line ki second line? Second line. In other words, so why should I skip the first line? I'll read the first line. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. That we are the soul, not this body. Correct? In other words, existence in material world is due to multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Is that right? That's why we are here. Otherwise we would have been in the spiritual world. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life. We are here because of sinful life. Why is this sinful life? Because of ignorance. Correct. Is this much clear?
Yeah.
Next. And sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. Okay. Next line. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. Correct. So the point Krishna is making in 4.31. Existence in material world is because of multiple sinful reactions, and that is because of our ignorance. There's so many living entities in an insect body, in a tiger body, in this body, in that body. That simply shows there are multiple sinful reactions. When someone suffers, what do we understand? That person has some past sinful reaction, bad karma. Correct? That's why that existence in material world is because of multiple sinful reactions. Whatever body is because of this, and that's because that we are simply ignorant, or that we are that we think that we don't know anything about the soul. Number one, we think that we are this body and we act on that particular level of the body. Correct? What is the only loophole?
Human life.
If you see, this will go on and on. This ignorance will keep us here. This will lead to multiple sinful reactions. That will lead to more ignorance. Again, this ignorance will keep us here. And again, sinful reactions, more ignorance. Yeah? It's like, we're simply going more down. How to get out of this? What is the loophole?
Human life.
The loophole is
Human birth.
human birth. This human form of life. human form of life is the only loophole. What do these sacrifices do? To the minimum.
If you are human life, a human being.
See, when you are a human, you will perform sacrifices. Animal cannot perform sacrifices. As a human, when you are performing sacrifices, at least in this material world, we get some facility to be happy. Say, for example, sacrifices will solve the problem of money, of resources. Suppose if you are satisfying demigods to the bare minimum. You are satisfying demigods by giving some yagya, something, or some charity. Chalo, if not demigods, some charity. What will happen? At least some better life, not now, then in the next, is promised to you. Correct? Some facilities you'll have because you've done some sacrifice. Even if not, if you've not even done that, what will happen?
Animal.
You go even more down in ignorance. So Krishna is saying, O best of the Kuru dynasty, O Arjuna, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet. It is not possible. Correct? Sacrifices will solve the problem, money, resources, elevation to comforts of heavenly planets. Maybe you're too much, lot of charity will take you even to heavenly planets. Heavenly planets are a very comfortable place. So without yagya, how can one be happy? Not in this life, not even in the next life. Correct? So here this human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas therefore give us a chance for escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last the means to get out of miserable condition entirely. Even after doing this, now even if you go to the heavenly planets, you will not be happy. But you will realize that doing so much, I am not happy in this world. Imagine not even doing those sacrifices, simply suffering. After doing so much endeavor of sacrifices, still you don't, you get very little happiness. You will start thinking that there must be some way of eternal happiness. At least that intelligence will be little purified with the help of sacrifices, whatever we've done, whatever sense control. Little intelligence will be little more sharper than, mere ignorance in the animal life. Then a person will start thinking, no, there must be some way out of here. And what is that loophole? Human form. You can practice devotional service and get out of this material entanglement. Right? So by performance of yagya, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc. Even if there is so-called increase of population. Krishna says, Ishavasam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatam jagat. He said, everyone is born with their quota. Dani dani bilika khane wale. Everyone is born with their quota. According to your last birth activities, right, you will have your own quota. This is what you have to take care of. This is what is your, quota. This is how much you're going to get. It's set. No one can increase it, no one can decrease it. Not at least in this life. Now it's already done. Correct? So here he's saying, even if there's increase in population, everyone has their own quota. When the body is fully supplied, naturally the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe therefore sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby one is gradually elevated to platform of release from material bondage. And the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yagya, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yagya, according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life even in this body? What to speak of another body on another planet? There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets, and in all cases there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yagya. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to spiritual planets, from where you can't fall down again, never fall down again, by practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all the problems of material existence. Means you snap at this point itself. When you practice devotional service, your next life is registered in the spiritual planet. Your name is registered in the spiritual planet. That from here, you drop this body, you're shipped. Or, what is that? Courier. Flight. 32. I hope I've covered all points. Yeah. And 32, he's still saying that if you don't if you don't do sacrifice, then what happens? Evam bahuvidha yagya
एवं बहुविधा यज्ञा
vitata brahmano mukhe
विदता ब्रह्मणो मुखे
karmajan vidhitan sarvan
कर्मजान् विदितान् सर्वान्
evam nyatva vimokshase.
एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्षसे.
Dipti?
All these different types of sacrifices are approved by the Veds, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated.
Correct. What happens? You become liberated simply because they are approved by the Vedas. Vedas are asking you to perform these sacrifices because there's a proper hierarchy. Correct? In 32, all these sacrifices, although superficially appear different, are born of varieties of consciousness. If a person is in mode of passion, he would love to, do these bodily discomforts and everything. It's a very passionate thing to do. To give your body voluntarily discomfort, is like a very passionate thing to do.
Yeah.
So a person in mode of passion will perform this
This kind of sacrifice.
this kind of sacrifice, this kind of yajna, and then he'll get mystic power or this or that, which makes him more passionate. Correct? So it depends on your consciousness. Whatever is your consciousness, you'll perform that type of sacrifice. Correct? If a person is very austere, then he hears and he controls his senses like a brahmachari. He becomes a brahmachari. He becomes a celibate. And then accordingly he gets the goal of sense control, mental control. That is also there. One of the purposes of sacrifice. He achieves it. Correct? So whatever is his consciousness, he'll perform that type of sacrifice. Now we might think that his sacrifice is more important, his sacrifice is less important. But for the Vedas, everything is equal. Because all are giving the same goal. So the goal is what is important, not what we do. But performing is the first step towards it. Correct? One's position in modes of material nature dictates his tendency and ability to perform sacrifice. If you're in mode of ignorance, we will not perform sacrifice. It means that tendency will not come at all. Or it will be someone like Kumbhakaran,
Keep sleeping.
Yeah, it'll just keep sleeping.
Or keep eating.
Or keep
6 months
eating.
sleeping and 6 months.
Eating and sleeping, that's it. Modern man performs no sacrifice. Uska kya hoga? Although sense enjoyment may increase, but you will see without any sacrifice we have so many facilities. But is there happiness? Vedas are promising happiness, that if you do this sacrifice, you will be happy. We have so many comforts, we have so many, these lifestyle, lifestyle comforts. More than our needs, our wants are being fulfilled.
Correct.
But happiness eludes us because we are not following something which is approved by the Vedas. That day Premniti Prabhu is saying that the problem was walking. Walking long distance is a problem. Earlier times, Ram, he walked so many from Ayodhya to Kanyakumari to Rameshwaram, then they walked the entire bridge. It's like miles to Lanka. We were walking because even their size was like that huge. They could cover more distances easily. But as Kali Yuga progressed, we need a vehicle. Even from here to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem was walking, so we have vehicles. What are the vehicles done?
Made us lazy, I think.
Choked our facility of breathing.
Yeah, actually.
What is more important, walking or breathing?
Breathing.
Breathing. And by solving this problem, what have we messed up?
Breathing.
Our breathing. You see? Because it's not approved by Vedas. Environmental pollution is not approved by the Vedas, so that will not give us happiness. It takes sacrifice to to procure a milk or to procure anything. To get a vehicle, we have to pay abundant money. That is like a sacrifice. But because it's not approved in Vedas, it will not give us happiness. Or happiness will simply elude us. That's why Krishna is saying here that these sacrifices I'm mentioning, these are approved by Vedas, and that's why you will get happiness in return. Correct? At least in this material world you will be happy. No one can be happy in this material world, but some temporary happiness you will get by good birth, good education, good intelligence. It gives happiness, beauty. It gives some happiness, correct? We are happy only when someone is ugly. When someone is ugly, okay, I'm more pretty, so that gives me happiness. At least some comparative happiness. Yeah, so that a modern man is a thief and he'll be condemned by the law of karma and will continue to suffer in next life. Correct? So 3 points. Why is Krishna mentioning here approved in Vedas? Because that is what happiness depends on. Like suppose I've bought a washing machine, that is, I have to use it according to the manual. When I don't use it according to the manual, thoda time ke liye chalega. Fir kya hoega? It'll be spoiled. I'll have to spend extra on it simply to get it repaired, simply to get it back into a normal condition. Correct? So here we need to follow Vedas, and Vedas give these 10 sacrifices, out of which the topmost is what the devotees perform. Is that okay? We get the connection, the flow of what Krishna is mentioning here. 33. You want me to put these things up? I think I'll put it up. I've not written anything for 32. I remember, someone asked this that, we have so many facilities, we have so many resources, we're not doing any yajnas. We thieves. In the bracket I'm writing 10, all those 10 ones that Krishna has enlisted. They are approved by the Vedas. They give happiness in material life and next life. Happiness in material life and next life. Modern man, happiness eludes him because he is not performing sacrifices approved by the Vedas. Correct? So that person will be condemned by law of karma because he is a thief. One more point. Now out of this 10, you might find, all 10 are difficult. Or devotional service is simply slowly progressing. But each person has a facility to sacrifice something. Options are here. Money, ability, intelligence, mind, body. At least something should be offered. Like if you're paying obeisances in the temple, it's like offering your body to the Lord. Correct? If you offer some flowers to the Lord, you offer some money to the Lord, you offer some ability. And suppose here we're sitting and we are applying our minds to Krishna's instructions in the Gita. It's like offering our intelligence to the Lord. Yeah? So that's also a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. We could have been in some other place enjoying and doing something.
But tell me,
We choose to be here.
modern man be enjoying this happiness today because of his previous karmas, or how can you say it's because he is...
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Like the last point.
If he is enjoying, then it has to be understood that some sacrifice has been performed previously. And if he is suffering, you have to understand that enjoy to kiya tha and that was because of some thievery. That's why we are suffering now. Usually high birth or beauty and everything is because of some sacrifice in the past. It's a sign of punya. Signs of court cases, getting stuck in, years and years of court cases and some any legal hassles, or sometimes getting murdered and everything. All these are signs of very grievous bad karma. Grievous bad karma. Serious bad karma. You might think, in this life that person was so nice. But we don't know the past. Actually, the point is that shouldn't make us insensitive, that the person with that karma, be careful. If you can positively give them some guidance that they don't perform that mistake again, or start somewhere the Krishna consciousness. (33) Shreyan dravyamaya yagyaj
Shreyan Dravyamayan Yagyam
Jnana Yagyah Parantapa
Jnana Yagyam Parantapa
Sarvam Karmakhilam Partha
Sarvam Karmakhilam Partha
Jnane Parisamapyate.
Jnane Parisamapyate.
Shalini.
O chastiter of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pratha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge.
Here he's giving a hierarchy. He's saying that simply, if you're just giving away something, better than that, you should know why you're giving it. Not that you make the other person say that, see, I'm giving you because of this or something, but you should know that what are the two goals? Sense control and freedom from sinful reactions. Giving with that goal, keeping that goal in mind, that I am giving because I want this. Or I am doing this particular, because it's very easy to get lost simply in the rituals of,
Correct.
even sometimes all the time, the Ashtanga yogis, what happens to them? The eighth, the final goal of Ashtanga yoga is samadhi. That is, they are out of this experience of the body. They've completely realized that I am the soul, not this body. That is the goal of Ashtanga yoga. But when this person starts getting some mystic powers, what happens?
Starts misusing it, or
They get followers. Once they get followers, what happens? They start showing some mystical power. That's very easy to perform. Actually, to perform these mystical powers, they manifest some expensive product out of nowhere, or they can heal someone also. Even our doctor can do that. Healing someone or out of severe, sometimes cancer. Many of these things also they can do it. Then what happens? They get a lot of following, get a lot of money, a lot of power, a lot of influence. The heart is not pure yet. Not completely pure.
They fall down.
They fall down. They sometimes get eluded by even women followers. Because attention from women is a very difficult, it's a very difficult thing for a man to control. Yeah, what are you laughing?
That Nityanand Swami.
So many.
I don't want to take Dev said. But this is actually, it will happen to any normal person. That's why they forget the goal. So here Krishna is saying simply by giving away material possessions, it's more important that you know the goal and then you keep at it. You keep the focus. Correct? So after all, the son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. That's the basis of this chapter. He started this chapter, he gave all the sacrifices because this is the goal. Even after getting freedom from sinful reactions, even after controlling your senses, you have to apply this transcendental knowledge. That application is still pending, it's still left. 33. So transcendental knowledge is the desired result for performing sacrifices. Again erase. You see? This is on. I can switch off one. Which one? This one? Shall I? Stuffy होगा तो ऑफ कर दूँ. Goal of sacrifices? TK. What is TK?
Transcendental knowledge.
When the result of sacrifice fails to be transcendental knowledge, then it's simply material activity. Correct? You've given away in charity, you will get a material reaction for it. Some punya, some this, some result in good birth. That's it. You will not get transcendental knowledge because your goal or your desire was not that.
Can you get transcendental knowledge in another birth as well if you've not completed it, or you just get it in one lifetime? You get it through various lifetimes.
Or sometimes Krishna pulls you. If you
Depending on
go,
how much.
how much intensity you have. Sometimes you can just, come in contact of a devotee somehow. Transcendental knowledge is desired result of all the sacrifices. When result of sacrifice fails to be transcendental knowledge, it's simply a material activity. So I'll write here, without TK, sacrifices are material activity. So after all the 10 things, he says sacrifices have to be performed, otherwise there's no happiness in this life nor in next. And then he says the sacrifices have to be approved by the Vedas, that is what brings happiness, correct? And then he says that the result should be transcendental knowledge, otherwise it's a material activity. And in the next one, he gives us a key. You either perform these sacrifices and get transcendental knowledge, or you can directly get transcendental knowledge. How is that?
Approaching a spiritual guru.
Correct. $34. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastatvadarshinaha.
Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
Correct? So now he's concluded his discussion about sacrifices. Correct? He said that either you can do this or you can directly get it from a self-realized guru, from a spiritual master. Huh? And then he begins, he's summarizing the transcendental knowledge. And he's defining how you can exactly get it directly. Here, there is this shloka in the Vedas. Which part it is? Mukham karoti vachalam, pangor langayate girim, yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam. He says that if the Guru gives his mercy to a deen, to a very fallen soul, what happens? If that fallen soul is dumb, he cannot speak, he'll start eloquent poetry. Mukham karoti vachalam means he's actually sing poetry. Even if he's dumb, he can't even speak. But that person, with the kripa of Guru, he can sing poetry. Pangor langayate girim. Giri is a mountain. Apang. What's an apang? A crippled person will scale mountains simply with the mercy of Guru. So this is possible. Mukham karoti vachalam pangor yat kripa tamaham vande Shri
Paramananda Madhavam.
What?
The last is
Paramananda Madhavam. That's what we've learned. Paramananda Madhavam.
Even I know something.
Paramananda Madhavam.
Even I know this one.
It's Shri Guru Dinataranam.
No.
Even we know.
You see the meaning?
Paramananda Madhavam.
You see the meaning? Does Paramananda Madhavam match? Is there Guru anywhere in the shloka?
No, it's actually by the grace of Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna. Yeah, that one can overcome all
That's what we
obstacles in
studied
life.
as that Paramananda Madhavam.
Actually, in the Vedas, it is Shri Guru Dinataranam.
Okay, then they must have changed it.
थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे कर दिया शायद.
Krishna, so it applies to him as well.
You cannot get Guru you cannot get Krishna unless you have a Guru.
Yeah.
Like that Guru is representative of Krishna, so that applies the same thing to.
But I can show you the exact verse from the.
We have learned this one.
Where have you learned it from?
I don't know, my yoga sir taught me.
See, that's the difference between a parampara.
The Krishna shloks if you read.
Yeah.
It's
No, can you tell me? I can tell you the authentic.
No, actually, you know what? They keep altering. Maybe it's been altered from the Vedas.
You know, alter the shloka.
No, but so many of us know the
Parvananda
wrong. I mean, it's very surprising.
Even, Bhagavad Gita shloka, I heard it somewhere once, it was written. It was something else only. The shloka was right, but the meaning was absolutely different. I was like, what? Even if that's why Prabhupada, he gives word-to-word translation. It's simply not taking space in the book. Because if you have a doubt of what the meaning is, if you simply compare the meaning, what is the connection between Parvan and Madham? Where is the Kripa? What's the connection? Krishna is saying here very clearly, Tad vidhi pranipatena, if you want transcendental knowledge, you have to approach a guru. Correct? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Now how to approach?
Seva.
Yeah, seva is very important. He says, inquire from him,
Submissive.
not challenging. Not just because you have some questions. If you go and ask some questions, okay, what is transcendental knowledge? And he'll give it to you. No. What does he do? Render service unto him. If he is pleased with your service or your service attitude, automatically all the imports of the Vedas will be revealed to you. Because I told you, knowledge is already there. The soul is Satchit, Ananda, full of knowledge, full of bliss, full of eternity. There's nothing that we have to, in fact, even this word education comes from a word edukari. Edukari means to draw out. Means something which is already there inside and we have to draw it out. What does the Guru do? Gives you that blessing which, purifies you from that whole layer of ignorance. That whole, that flowchart that I did, and that was the ignorance was the main cause. If Guru can simply shoot that and, take it out, it's like a coconut, you break it, you have the main thing inside. Correct? And bring it out for you. But you have to render service and be submissive. These are the two things. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord Himself. Correct? So that's very important now. Which Guru do you choose? There's a market of Gurus. Correct? Which Guru do you choose? Someone who's coming from a disciplic succession. In Padma Puran we have options of 4 sampradayas. We did that, I think, in 30 key verses. Yeah. Correct? We have Rudra Sampradaya, Lord Shiva's Sampradaya. We have Brahma Sampradaya, Lord Brahma's Sampradaya. We have Shri Sampradaya, which is the Lakshmi Sampradaya. The last is Kumar Sampradaya. The Srinathji Sampradaya, sometimes Vallabhacharya Sampradaya it's called. From these 4 Sampradayas, when you choose a Guru, it is approved by Vedas. It's approved by Krishna. Correct? Rudra Sampradaya. Sorry, not Kumar Sampradaya. Rudra Sampradaya. Yeah? Vallabhacharya. Correct. So the Lord is the original spiritual master. The Lord is also, He is teaching Arjuna. Yeah? And like He taught Sun God. In the beginning of this chapter, He reveals that He taught Sun God. Same way He taught Lord Shiva. He taught Lakshmi. He taught Lord Brahma. He taught the 4 Kumaras. And they had their disciplic succession. They had their disciples. Now how do I know that the Guru is speaking the right thing? We have Shastra. You can read the Shastra, you can compare if he's saying the right thing, if he's saying the same thing or not. What is the change? Transcendental knowledge. Freedom from sinful reactions, controlling of senses. According by following his instructions, am I getting these 2 things? If no, then you know. If yes, then you know whether it's working for you or not. Is that okay? So it's a whole chain. There's a foolproof plan. Given by the Vedas. You cannot be cheated, provided you have the preliminary knowledge. Correct? So the path of self-realization is undoubtedly difficult, especially in Kali Yuga. There are so many things dragging you away. Correct? The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord Himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. It's actually very sad, there are so many gurus, but they don't want to reveal who was their guru. Because they think then they will go to their, wherever their establishment was. It's very sad. Actually, you should be proud of your guru. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process. as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam. That means the path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. In the same chapter, in the 7th verse, if you remember, Yada Yada hi dharmasya. No, the next, 4.8. He says, Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam. He says, Dharma samsthapanarthaya. Whenever there's too much anarthas, what do? I come back to re-establish. He says re-establish. Samstha means something which is like a train which is already there. The track is already there, just a little bit, little bit deviated, it has to get back. The original path is already there. How to go back to Godhead is already there. If you see the facets of Bible, the facets of the Quran, facets of the Vedic things that are followed, it's all the same. Buddhism, it means a lot of things is about ahimsa. Is it not there in the Vedas? Principle of unnecessary non-violence is also there in the Vedas. Correct? So all these facets are basically the same thing. Love God. Is that not there in the Vedas? It's there. The description of hellish planets, the Jannat and the spiritual world and the hellish planets, that is also there in the Vedas. And there's something more. It's like a Chambers dictionary and a pocket dictionary. Pocket dictionary will not have all the words in the Chambers dictionary. Chambers dictionary will have all the words that are there in the pocket dictionary. Correct? So if you have access to the Chambers dictionary, would you keep a pocket dictionary in the house? No. Correct? So here he says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranatam. Whenever the Lord comes, no one can manufacture a new thing. Even the Lord doesn't manufacture a new thing. He gives the same thing according to one's digestive power. Correct? Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to right path, nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Correct? So with all these qualities, what happens? The Lord is very pleased, and through the spiritual master, he blesses that disciple with all transcendental knowledge. Correct? So I'll stop here. The purpose of the Vedas, we are done. The take home message should be 2. Purpose of Vedas is sense control, freedom from sinful reactions. With this, there should be dawn of transcendental knowledge in the heart of the person who's done the sacrifice. Or the direct channel is get a guru.